right, so let me just make sure it is streaming on everything.
You'll have to show me how to do that eventually.
Oh, with the multi-stream?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll show you how to do that. In fact, I can probably show you after the stream. But first, let me just check everywhere, make sure we are streaming. Checking YouTube. Looks like we're live on YouTube, and I think we're live on Twitch, which are really the only important things right now, because we get, like, 0 viewers on DLive. But that's okay. I don't know, it doesn't look like I'm streaming on Twitch. Can someone check?
I'm checking YouTube.
YouTube's working fine.
Okay, so we got YouTube.
Really? I don't see YouTube.
And of course, this happens on the time that I switched the social media alert to Twitch instead of YouTube.
Oh, okay.
I think it's live.
Are we?
Yes.
Yeah,
it's
live
on Twitch.
It's live on Twitch?
Yeah.
All right, sweet. So, that awkward opening out of the way. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another wonderful stream of World War Weeb, where we ask you just one question. Where the hell is Boba Bun?
I don't know, but the room smells nicer. It doesn't smell like blood.
Well, that's fair. All right.
God, where are you?
You really want the room smelling blood? Really?
I mean, I might. You don't know me.
That's
You don't know my
disgusting.
life.
That's disgusting, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Alrighty then. Well, I don't know. We're not getting any viewers right now. That's just sad. Either way.
We have 2.
Oh, 2. Well, Restream is not behaving then because it's showing me 0, and that is apparently a lie.
One of them is me.
One of them is me.
To check for
One of them
comments.
is me.
Way to pad your numbers,
Oh,
guys.
wait. We've got to know. Am I?
Oh,
Goku?
okay. Okay, yeah. Well, apparently my multi-streaming software is not behaving properly, so I may not know how many people we actually have watching the stream at any given time.
So it's between,
I am
it's
chopped
between
liver.
1
Okay.
And 1 billion.
Is there a way to make the chat a bit bigger so I can read it through my phone?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I have really any images to work with today, so let me just go ahead and just make the chat bigger. There we go. That's gonna take up the whole screen
oh,
now.
God, don't tell Bagels that.
Oh no. Oh no. I think he might already know. Anyway, welcome back to the stream, guys. Today we are going to be talking about Evangelion. We did start with the idea of talking about just end of Evangelion, but I think for most of us it might be a little bit easier to go with the whole thing, because I know it's been a while for me since I've watched it.
Can I ask a question about that, by the way?
Yeah.
Can Shinji really pilot that thing?
I don't think it's really him piloting it. I think it's him sitting in it, and then someone else taking over and just going, yeah, no, you want to, no, Shinji, hey, you want to do this. You want to do this.
Yes.
No,
that can't fail.
And
Well,
Orphan, the lovely man named Geralt that you see on the stream right now. Orphan was not here for this conversation, but this is something near and dear to one of our regular guests' hearts. Chris is, I would say, very, very attached to Evangelion, and he had quite a long monologue that he sent to me. And as much as we're here to have fun, I do think that in this instance, I'm just going to give him the stage to say what he wants and just say why Evangelion is important to him.
I mean, okay, so thank you. Is that now? I first saw Ava in college. I borrowed it from another college system, and over the course of the 26 episodes, this was the ADV one of the ADV DVDs, I fell in love with the series because of something more, something in its emotional resonance, which is transcendently human yet painfully raw in its emotional connection. In other words, Ava still packs one of the most powerful emotional haymakers in all of anime. I could argue for maybe of all animation. The only emotional haymaker which even comes remotely close is Bambi's mother's dying. You know the story. As the halfway point in the series progressed, it began. Characters who had previously been shown to have had no mental health issues began to mentally fall apart. Misato lost her boyfriend in Kaji. Ritsuko destroyed their Requiem in what could be described as a moment of madness. Rei dying and being replaced by a clone. I think that's might have been the third or fourth one, if I'm remembering it correctly. Asuka being more broken than once we had thought, and Shinji's only friend dying in his hand. This should sound familiar. The entire world collapsing around you, everything you knew being wiped out in a matter of seconds, the feeling of worthlessness permeating the air with your only companion being loneliness, and it's worse because you can't drink at all. Even when you think it looks better and everyone says, "You're cured," you're not. Happiness is fleeting, and it's best to appreciate every minute of it because it'll always turn for the worse, even if you do everything right. These are powerful themes and not ones to be taken lightly. In other words, Hideaki Anno tapped into something unsaid, but deeply felt and raw in its honesty, something most shows refuse to talk about, in particular, depression and mental illness. In many ways, Anno opened himself through this show during this latter half and revealed himself to be as broken as the fan base he had chastised in anime magazines at the time, which he basically mocked and basically criticized to no end. Yet as the show continued fighting deadline issues and corporate sponsors, Anno was fighting his own personal demons and losing. Yet in this losing battle, he revealed more about himself and of humanity than any Sailor Moon or Dragon Ball series, and created more damage than any Tomino, Tomino, Tominoan Yoshiyuki Tomino esque genocide. By having these themes in the series, Ava spoke to those who had been hurt, forgotten, and in pain in ways Anno no probably did not plan. There are many reasons why Ava became such a momentous success in Japan, but this is one theory I've always felt in my heart to be true, and but yet it's never really spoken. In many ways, at the end of in the end of Evangelion, Asuka's battle with mass production Evas represents this contrast of Anno using this as a kind of romantic clef, if you will, for his emotional issues better than I can. Asuka, in this case Anno, is fighting these harpy-looking creatures, aka Anno's personal demons, and has the early advantage. But time runs out, and eventually Asuka is eaten, in this case Anno, is eaten alive by those they fight. Did he intend it as such? Probably not, but when you put so much into the series, it's hard not to read it as such. Yet the damage wasn't done. Instead, it came in two cruel jokes. The first was the phrase, "The fate of destruction is also the joy of rebirth." This phrase, considering the show, seems more like a cruel joke. Shinji was miserable after Earth came back. There was no joy in Gendo failing to reunite with you, as he pretty much melted, and Sele failed in whatever they were trying to do. They had failed, and Shinji's one hope of joy, Asuka, wanted nothing to do with them at the end of Eva. The second and cruelest joke was Anno's career and his standing in the anime community. They will not remember him as one of the first otaku who loved the industry so much he helped start a company for the thing he loved so much. They will not remember his work as the key animator of the excellently animated God Warrior sequence of Nausicaa the Valley of the Wind. They will not remember him for directing the cult classics Gunbuster or Nadia Secret of the Blue Water. Instead, the millstone around his neck will always be Ava. Perhaps it's his cross to bear, even if the crosses don't mean anything.
Alrighty then. So there are a couple reasons why I wanted to let him go ahead and talk about that. One, because he expressed how important this was to him, and I thought I would be remiss if we didn't let him say his piece. The other reason is just because of the Discord server that we'll plug later. Because that whole description of the anime we're going to be talking about today really fits into the purpose of this Discord server. That being said, with a show that has a lot to say, Evangelion kind of had to go really abstract with a lot of stuff, and that got weird.
There is explanations for it. There are explanations for it.
Yeah, no, I definitely know there are explanations for it. I know I don't
Narrative
understand
or-
it. Hmm?
Narrative explanations or production explanations?
Production.
Alrighty.
I mean, kind of both.
Hmm.
Because, I mean, there are a few things that I heard, but should we give just a brief overview of, I don't know, everyone's seen it. I was going to say maybe we should give an overview of Evangelion, but I think everyone's seen it at this point.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
But
believe
if
a
I
lot of
haven't
people
seen,
watch it due to it's sort of, but not exactly a kaiju show. I mean, it's not the first. When you think kaiju, you don't think Evangelion, but it does really have some attributes
I mean,
of kaiju.
technically it is kaiju if you go with the basic definition, thanks to the angels, but
It's more giant robot deconstruction
Yeah.
more than anything else.
Well,
Yeah.
even those count as kaiju. Like
I know, like
Super
they're
Sentai, Power
organic,
Rangers.
they're organic mechs, which I just
Yeah.
love the idea of organic mechs in general. Like that concept is just so cool to me.
it's nuts.
And Evangelion handled it pretty well.
Yeah,
Because anyone can take a cool concept and just butcher it.
Darling in the Franks. Excuse me. I don't know what I had in my throat there.
I still remember Asuka's fight, Asuka's fight in the movie. God damn, and what happened with that? That was crazy.
We're talking about end of Evangelion, right?
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, originally we were just
Yeah.
going to talk about End of Evangelion. I don't remember it that well, so at some point we are going to be talking about Evangelion as a whole.
Yeah, but I want to ask about that. Is that movie canon, or is it like an alternate ending or a what if ending? Like, I keep seeing articles and people telling me one thing that contradicts another. So,
Well, here's what
Chris,
I
would you happen to know where?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say, I want to give my lightly informed opinion so that Chris can then correct me where I'm wrong.
Okay.
um, so from what I understand, from what I've seen, and just putting my film critic hat on, which I haven't put on in a while, I would say that given what the little bit I know about the production, including some of the stuff that Chris mentioned earlier, and just the way that things went in those two different endings, I don't think it's a literal sequel, but I do think it's a literal canon, since it does change up some of it. It definitely contradicts a lot, but what I would say is it's more of a spiritual or a metaphorical canon. Like, this is something that really happened, but maybe not like physically happening to Shinji, maybe not physically happening to these other characters, but it definitely happened, and it was kind of a response from the creator for people who were complaining about the ending of the show. That's kind of how
Yes,
I
I
see
did
it.
hear about that.
Yeah, that's kind of how I see it, but I know that I'm very, very limited on this subject.
Or it could be
Okay.
simply because he was trolling the fans at that point.
Now, at one point, he openly admitted that he didn't even know what he was doing when he was writing the series, which I blame on his emotional problems more than anything else.
Nah, that's fair.
Well,
Is that-
he did a better job than Tomino.
Yeah, but all right. So here's okay. From my research that I've done, and I've done a fair amount, is that apparently the scripts were written around the same time as the ending. I have a wonderful website, GWERN, and their Ava source document, which is actually really insightful to be honest. And they've done a lot of translations with Ava Geeks, kind of the official site of this series. For but to my knowledge, it was written around the same time as it, but it was originally intended as the film was intended as the original ending, so to speak. In fact, on the director's cut of episode 24, they show animatics of episode 25, the film version of episode 25, which
Huh.
kind of proves, which indicates that this was probably how the original ending was supposed to go before they ran out of money, or should I say they blew their budget so spectacularly it wasn't even funny.
Oh, I have been on projects that have done that. That is not fun. If you're
Yeah.
doing grunt work, that is not fun.
Yeah, but
There is something I noticed, but I'll let Chris finish first.
okay, is that and thus that's the interpretation I have. As for how they fit together into the same universe, well, I kind of like to think of like the movie All That Jazz and how it handled its ending, where it had the intercutting of dream sequence and real life footage. How the stuff, how I view it as the end of Ava is the stuff that's happening in real life, so to speak, in real life as in the real series, and the stuff with him and everyone in their giant group therapy circles is the stuff that's all in Shinji's head. Combine that with everything else that's happening in Shinji's head, it means that there's a lot going on.
Yeah, when you deal with people's emotional, mental states and thoughts and things like that coming into a visual space on the screen, like that gets really, really weird and really convoluted.
Especially since these characters are young, the main characters.
Oh yeah.
They have to be a bit messed up to what they go through. But the
Getting
thing
the
I
damn
noticed
robot,
about-
Shinji.
Oh, you mean you're gonna get your whiny bitch ass son to pilot a giant robot he's never seen or heard of before, with probably no combat experience, to fight one of the greatest threats that mankind has ever faced?
But I can't pilot this thing!
But only children can pilot the Ava. Why is that? Well, because it's a fucking anime. Pardon my French. Oh,
Yeah,
damn,
we haven't been cracked down for language yet, so.
Oh snap. Okay. The characters are always whiny little shit children. Cut to Kira Yamato. Oh no, I don't want to kill anyone. Yeah, there's something I wanted to point out. To me, when I watched Ava for the first time, and before the infamous last two episodes, it seemed like the show was already done. The story was finished. They beat all the Avas. There didn't seem to be anything more to add. And those two episodes, at least in my mind, I thought they were just contractually obligated to make a specific number of episodes. So they just threw in those two. Is there any truth to that, or is that just my
I don't
thought?
believe that's the case. I know that Gainax had issues with just struggling to meet deadlines. To be honest, they supposedly had like the first I think 8 episodes in the can off the top of my head, but then everything they basically were just running on the fly. To be honest, but the thing is that to be honest, I don't think that's the case. That doesn't sound right, to be honest, but. Because I think they had it planned for like 26 episodes. I know the initial proposal that they'd written up in 1993 had at least 25 episodes. So I think it was pretty close to how it was originally, to be honest.
Oh, hey, King Style. Well, we got more people here. Hooray! People are watching our things. This makes me happy.
Hello. But, like I said, you can't blame me for thinking it was done by episode, what was it, 24? 20. I don't know, before the last two
It was,
episodes.
it was
whatever the number
24.
count is.
There were 26 episodes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 26 episodes.
Yeah,
and
it was 24.
I mean, I wondered what could they do afterwards. And, again, the infamous ideas that ended up becoming part of the manga called the Shinji Ikari Raising Project, which is a slice of life version of the show based on what I've read.
That's non-canon, and we don't discuss that.
We don't discuss that here. It's like the Last Airbender movie. Doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Talking about the movies, there's also the new movies that are retelling the story. I haven't seen
the
any of
rebuild
them.
ones?
Yeah, I haven't
those have had
seen any of them,
problems.
and I refuse to until he's actually completed the last movie, so I can actually binge them all at once. But yeah, there's also that. and that apparently has a much more coherent story, and is apparently much better. According to
Well, shall I alert you about the voice cast? I mean, it's
Oh
half good
god.
news, half bad news. The main characters have been they got the original VAs back. You know, Asuka, Shinji, and Misato.
Misato. Yeah.
Everybody else has been recast from Funimation voice actors.
Not Funimation again.
Yeah,
And
yeah, we
firstly,
have our
Kingstar,
problems with Funimation here.
yeah,
Yeah.
Kingstar. I don't know why they actually had to recast it on Netflix, but it was a fucking stupid idea. Excuse my language. Um, because from what I heard, none of the original voice actors were actually approached to redub their roles at all.
Well, why redub it
Netflix was
at
just
all?
like,
Just put the
we're
audio.
just going to recast it. We're not going to tell any of the original voice actors or whatever. We're just
I,
going to
th-
be
I think it.
dicks.
I think it was rights issues, to be honest.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking too.
Yeah, is that it was probably rights issues, and Terry Kiernan had made a tweet that she now deleted, saying that basically that when they were auditioning, everyone was on equal footing. Which part of me is saying, Miss Kiernan, I know that you've done good work before, i.e., she was great as Casca from the Berserk dub in the '90s, the
Hmm.
'97 version, and she was really good as Satsuki from Kill la Kill's dub, even though I wasn't really that much of a fan of that series. So why would you say that?
Hmm.
That it doesn't make sense. Like you would say, like, oh, everyone's on a fair footing. Um, okay, that's fine and everything, but you're bound to have some people that are that like the original people doing it. So you should at least provide them with something.
Yeah, the new voice cast to me in with the Netflix redub thing is just piss poor. I really don't like them.
I
I
actually
would
haven't
like to
watched it
ask
yet.
if you had not seen the original dub, would you like this new dub?
No,
I didn't watch it dubbed,
I
to be honest. I watched it subbed.
I did not
Oh,
like the deliveries at all from the Netflix version
but were
at
you
all. The,
comparing
the
them to the
delivery is just
original?
not there.
I mean, I
No, no,
can't.
I just don't like the delivery.
Yeah, I felt that way. I just want to make sure it's not just me and my bias towards the original.
Yeah, and
You know,
that does come
as a
up.
voice actor, it's just bad. As a voice actor, it's just it sounds like they just phoned it in. There's no.
You know, I will say one thing I like about the original dub. I mean, this most modern dubs would try to avoid the fact that they're originally speaking in Japanese, but even though we're hearing it in English, the original dub was like, "Ah, you're thinking in Japanese, aren't you?" And
Oh yeah,
there's
yeah.
Yeah.
a lot of allusions to Japanese culture. You know,
Well, yeah, because that kind of reminds me of when they dubbed Chunibyo. They changed because one of the characters, the Chunibyo character, was trying to make it seem as though she had an alternate personality that only spoke English and then spoke like really fucking broken English. And it was kind
I
of a
remember
funny
that.
scene. Yeah, yeah. But in the English dub, they changed
That's a
it to.
great series.
It was so good. The movie was actually really good too. I didn't even realize there was a movie until this year. I have no idea when it came out. But yeah, so when they did that scene in the dub, I mean, obviously they had to change the language, but it was a little weird having first seen the Japanese version and then watching the English version where she just speaks French, like really bad French. And I'm just like,
uh,
this is odd. I know you can't do English in English because we saw what problems that created in Way of the Dragon with Bruce Lee. But
Yeah. 13
but when
King
you
Style says apparently Shinji Ikari is non-binary, whatever the
that
fuck that
that's
means.
that's some BS. That's some BS
Yeah,
right now.
that's garbage.
You
Yeah,
can't
that's
just
know,
claim
bullshit.
things
Yeah.
about characters that is obviously not true.
I was
Yeah.
going to say, actually, now I have a citation for that last two episodes of the thing. This came from a English translator who actually worked at Gainax at the time, named Michael House, in an email in a 2011 email from that gwern.net site. He had basically said that he he said, quote, that he talked with some people that with Ano, and at some point he was just trying to find a way to put a smile on Shinji's face by the end of the series, and quote, after was brought to the hard realization around episodes 12, 13 that the characters he created weren't capable of positive change like he had originally planned. Whoops. Is that
Oh my god.
is that
Oh,
wait a minute,
yeah,
there's
sorry.
more. I was going to say he said that he recalled people working closest to Anno expressing their own uncertainties from that point during the latter part of the production about just how much of a grip Anno had in the proceedings when Anno was out of earshot. Is that though he was able to pick up some conversations just by listening in, is that he had been trying against reality during the first part of production to bring things up to his original intended vision. By the midway point, he finally gave up. Note the changes in the avowed purpose of the human instrumentality project, for example. He upended the whole thing the last two episodes of the series. So, ladies and gentlemen, we can now officially confirm from someone who actually worked at Gainax there were severe production problems. This is not a rumor. This is a fact.
And again, someone who has worked with major production issues on a project, I can say from experience, there are two outcomes from production problems. Either people are able to get creative and make really interesting changes to the story, which I think definitely happened with Evangelion. There were production problems, but I think overall they managed to take those production problems and swing them into a way that really connected with people. There's a guy named God, I'm blanking on his name right now. The guy from Film Riot, Ryan something. I forget his last name for some reason. The guy from Film Riot did a short film where he had a whole block planned out for what he was going to film, and like it turned out they kept waiting and waiting and waiting on equipment and some of their crew and things like that, and they had to change the shot list. And what they ended up doing was a much more artistic, much more visually interesting one take version, just one camera panning and moving throughout the scene, morphing into each of these different shots, pulling into finally a cut after like at least a minute of no cutting whatsoever, just moving through the scene. And that kind of stuff is really cool, and I really enjoy being a part of that. However, that's not always what happens, and sometimes things just get wrecked.
Oh yes. How often does something good come out of a very tight schedule or minimal equipment?
Unless you have people who are not stressed to the max, which is almost impossible in the industry, and it's a small enough crew to where there's a lot of interperson communication and nothing gets missed. Like those are the only ways to get that to have a positive outcome, honestly.
Oh, actually, it gets better for Gainax as well as part of this cruel joke aspect. In '98, they got tax audited.
Oh no. Oh
Cruel
no.
jokes thesis.
Because apparently, I don't remember exactly what had happened, but apparently there might have been some financial shenanigans going on.
Uh-oh.
So yeah, that even though Gainax was basically running on a shoestring and Ava was making all this money, is that yeah, basically it was basically just torture to make the dang thing. Is that, and you wonder why Anno takes so many years off between the rebuild movies.
Yeah.
I can think of one reason after another. But at the end of the day, despite all the production issues, it still ended up being popular enough to become a franchise, and the characters are being used in various merchandising in
Yeah.
Japan. You're seeing them. You even see them in every now and then painted on trains. I think there's even a big Rei Ayanami statue with a slide.
Well, it's one of those
I mean,
anime that you just always, when you think of anime, it's one of the top things that pop up in people's minds.
that's why I made the
Yeah.
comment about how it wound up being the thing. It wound up being the millstone around Anna's neck because he probably didn't want to do that. He probably just wanted to move on after this. In fact, his first project after this, called Karikano, was a was an adaptation of a shoujo comic, shoujo manga.
That's a
Um,
swift turn.
Yeah, because he wanted to stop feeling depressed after Ava. Surprisingly, it didn't
know.
go over so well. Go figure.
I don't know.
Non-binary
If I
means
caught
laboratory
lightning,
experiment. What? What?
what the?
I'm pretty sure they're not even. They're. Are you guys curious as I am or not?
I don't know. If I was an anime director and I created a show, if I caught lightning in a bottle and I'm getting royalties for the rest of my life, at that point I'd be so happy. I'd probably just making more anime just as more of a hobby than a job to try to make ends meet. I mean, I'm assuming he gets royalties from the Evangelion
Sure.
property. I mean, does he
Sure,
own
yeah.
it or does Gainax own it?
Well,
Or does he
that's
own
actually
Gainax?
that's a good question. I don't know.
It's complicated.
He must get
Well,
something.
okay. So here's the most sense that I can make out of this entire thing. So Gainax made the original series, but around 05, 06 ish, Anno wanted to make his rebuild movies, and he founded his own studio, Kara Pictures, to do so. So and thus nobody still knows who the heck actually owns the dang thing. To be honest, while Gainax themselves own the original property, Kara owns the rebuild films.
Huh.
So can we say confusing? I knew you could.
I'm gonna attempt to. No, hang on. No, I think I got this. Hang on. Confusing. No, that's not right.
Confuzzled.
Confizzulated.
Yeah, it's still a mess to try to figure out. Or the fact that the end of had 7 or different opening logos at the beginning of everything, just for just before the film even started. Those were all the distributors and all the people that had put a lot of money into this production.
I thought it was because Evangelion's so popular, so many sponsors just wanted to get their hands on it.
Oh, that's a good
Yeah.
point, Lady Saber. She says,
it is.
plus you have all the licensing rights when it comes to localization. And like Dragon Ball Z is a perfect example of the hassle that comes with multiple companies owning the rights to things. Because Funimation, again, we don't like them here at World War Weeb for our own reasons that we won't get into. But Funimation owns the rights to Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and all that in the United States, and they love Team 4-Star. They love them. They've even had them come in for dubbing on some of their projects, which was a lot of
Wait,
fun.
I thought they hated.
No.
Sean Schemmel hates
No,
Tom
no,
Cruise.
that's just Schemmel.
That's just
Schemmel hates
Schemmel in his little
Okay.
Schemmelisms.
I'm the only Goku in the world. Yeah.
Oh, be quiet, Schemmel. Your job when you came to play Goku was to impersonate the Canadian Goku. So don't act like it's your creation and your interpretation.
But yeah, so no.
There were
It's
two
time to
Gokus
go,
by that
Vegeta.
But yeah, so Funimation loves them, but Toei Animation hates them.
Yeah.
I was told something from many people that contradicts that statement. I think doesn't Funimation just own the rights to air it and distribute it, but ultimately Toei Animation gets the rights to the dub by the end.
I
some
don't
point.
know, honestly. I think it's part of the like contract that Toei had with Funimation. I honestly can't remember. But all I know is that they really like the two companies disagree on how they feel about Team 4-Star and a bridge series in general.
Yeah.
Let's see. King Styles says, "Zawaldo may never know, but heaven does." Dio Brando and Joestar family. God, it always comes back to goddamn JoJo references. Is that a
Moving on.
JoJo reference?
That's the
Total
Dragon
Platinum.
Ball today.
Anyway,
Remember, 10
moving
years
on.
ago, people would always go back to talking about Naruto
Well, at least we're beyond that.
in any topic.
Back to Evangelion.
Yeah,
Thank you,
another
thank
thing
you.
I like about Evangelion, and Man, I lost my train. Okay, I remember now. The music is amazing, and that's one of the most enjoyable factors of the series for me.
It is. On
Mm,
according to
yeah.
Saber, ADV had the original rights to dub Evangelion, and Netflix has the subbing rights now. What about the Rebuild series? Who has the rights for that?
Hmm.
Funimation.
Funimation.
Do
Yeah.
they?
Yeah, they do.
Uh,
But they did get the. But like I said, they got Asuka, Shinji, and Misato original voice actors back. But everybody else is recast.
Why does
I think
anime
Greg Ayres
have to be?
is
Why does anime
Toji.
have to be so complicated?
Well, unfortunately, outside of Japan, animation is seen as a children's medium, so no one takes licensing, the creation, and distribution of it so seriously.
Yeah, I think that's changing now, but yeah, definitely.
Depends where you are in the world.
Yeah. One thing I do want to ask y'all's opinion on, getting back to Evangelion, is at the end of the series when we were getting the episodes 25, 26, there was that sequence where they went ultra low budget with the animation, and it was almost like they were showing animatics and like marker drawings and stuff like that. Like when I first saw it, I didn't know what to think of it. Thinking back on it with, again, my film critic hat on, my immediate response would be that was a creative decision because it did make it into the final version. But do we think it was a creative decision or just a production issue or a bit of both?
I think it's a bit of both, but that's because I went into it with this knowledge in mind that the last two episodes animation goes downhill. But I think considering maybe if I had seen it for the first time without knowing this information, I probably thought it would have been a stylistic choice.
Yeah.
hmm.
I
I
mean,
think it's a bit of
I'm
both.
gonna take the third option, as in it probably was production issues, but it also could have been an artistic choice. I mean, Ano at some point it freely admitted that he didn't even know where the heck it was going. I mean, and when the director of your series says that he doesn't know where it's going, there should only be one thought in your mind: panic.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
Everybody
let's just
panic!
put a giant ray head right at the back of his picture. Let's just do that, okay? What do you guys think? Yeah, let's do that.
Well, God, I did not know what to think of a giant ray. What I can say though is that that definitely wasn't ripped off in Darling in the Franxx at all, and it definitely they definitely did not completely miss the point of doing that in Darling in the Franxx, because that is a perfect series with zero flaws.
Darling in the Franks, how not to rip off Evangelion.
That sounds like a
Speaking of
video essay
ripping
waiting
off,
to happen.
You know, it
speaking
was
of ripping
kind of
off,
cool
sorry,
until the aliens.
no,
Yeah.
you just reminded me about something. There's another anime. I forget when it came out, but has anyone heard of Razafon?
Yes.
And
Rasputin, yes.
it's credited as being a well, some people would say a ripoff. Others would say it's inspired by Evangelion. Some even say it's a better version. I don't get mad at me. I'm just quoting what other people have said. What do you guys
Yeah.
think of it?
I don't know. I haven't seen it. I've heard of it, but and I've heard a lot of good things about it. But it just hasn't appealed to me, to be honest.
Oh,
Plus,
that's
the
Okay,
DVD
yeah.
box sets are expensive as all heck, so that doesn't help matters either.
I got the box set, and I haven't watched it in years. I'd have to revisit it. But I did. Evangelion did keep popping in my mind as I was watching it.
Hmm. Oh, Lady Saber says the original network cut the budget drastically. The final was supposed to be a four-parter. Huh. Okay. But with
I
massive.
don't.
Hmm.
Oh,
What
is
was
that
that?
for Razvan or Ava?
Ava.
I don't think that's the case. Again, one of the there was it was kind of like a Japanese manifesto, but it's called something else over there. That was written around '98. That actually gets some gets some things wrong, but it gets a couple things really right. It's called the Kaibun Show, and one of the allegations, this was supposedly from someone who worked on there, but they didn't give their name because, again, what's the phrase I'm looking for? Dang it, I'm trying to think of it. Yes, is that some even people can be sued for slanderous or malicious stuff, even if the statements are themselves true in Japan. It's weird.
Huh.
And they can lose because of that. So a lot of these manifestos go unnamed, but supposedly this person said that that things were beginning to fall apart around let's say by episode 16, and they were pressed for both time and budget, and apparently this person wrote that 75% of the or more of the production staff from episode 16 was outsourced to South Korea.
Huh.
Which I don't know, but of course I'm not sure if that's the case or not. But if that's true, that is pretty interesting. But again, they're not exactly. I'm not exactly sure. There are some parts that I'm not sure how accurate they are, but other parts that But again, when asked about that, that translator Michael House said that conclusion was dubious. He had heard that Anno had basically used up the original budget by episode 9, and they were consistently behind schedule.
Huh.
Which again confirms the production issues, but so not only had this just sounds like it was a disaster upon a catastrophe upon another disaster.
Yeah, definitely.
No,
I can't help but feel this is how it went towards the end. Mr. Arno, we're having budget problems. Come back later. But it's an emergency. Come back when it's a catastrophe.
No, it's like, oh no, the production of Ava isn't going well. Oh no, someone call IT. Hello, IT, have you tried turning it off and on again? Are you sure that your anime is plugged in?
Oh my god, the IT crowd.
You can try doing a reset. It will take several days. Sorry.
No, watch the last episode of Golden Boy. That's what was going on in the production of Ava.
Well,
they had tapes on their bikes and they were trying to race into the studio and hope like heck they didn't get lost by a courier, because that happened in a case with Macross.
Oh god, it did actually. I heard about that.
Yeah, I don't remember what episode it was, but apparently it got lost, and they thought they would have to redo the entire thing, but they found the copy. Is that it must have been just misplaced or something.
Wow. Well, I mean, I don't know about other productions. This is the only one that I'm knowledgeable enough in to talk about, but in the production of Avatar: The Last Airbender, I do know that the production schedule, like each episode took about 9 months to make. And so they'd have to work on several of them at a time, but each one in its entirety from start to finish would take about 9 months each. And so when you factor that in with all the episodes you have to make for an anime or even a cartoon, anime is cartoons technically, but you know what I mean. Like any other type of animation, like I can understand where that budget just goes bye-bye real quick with 1 or 2 major issues.
Man, 9 months?
Yep.
You know
that's
how much...
That's animation for you.
Mm-hmm.
But you know how long it took, if I remember correctly, you know how long it took for a Transformers episode of Generation 1 to go from being storyboarded to airing on TV?
No.
4 months, according to TF Wiki somewhere.
Oh wow, that's really not bad.
And that's in the 80s.
Yeah.
Hand drawn.
King Style.
That's why the show has so many animation errors.
Oh yeah. King Style says, "Did you know Team 4-Star was in Dragon Ball Z Kai Buu Saga, but Toei told Funny take them out or take dubbing rights from Funny, so did Comcast and other still had 4-Star version of episode."
We're not sure about that, to be honest.
Yeah, I do.
That's not the
yeah,
topic of this episode, to be honest.
Yeah,
Can
I
you
do.
read that? It didn't make sense to me.
I know there are a few typos in there, but basically, I mentioned earlier that Funimation had used the voice actors from Team Four Star to help with an episode in Dragon Ball Z, but it looks like, and I didn't know this because I never watched the syndicated version. I don't really watch Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball Super. I watched Dragon Ball and I watched Dragon Ball Z a lot when I was a kid, but when it came to Kai and anything and GT and all that stuff, I never really watched it. So I don't really know what was actually syndicated, but yeah, that's the kind of weird stuff we have to deal with dubs and just anime in general.
Actually, I have one more note from that interview.
Okay.
Is that Michael House had also noted, to paraphrase Anno in this quote, paraphrase Anno's own words, he wanted his characters to start from a damaged place and change, presumably maturing and becoming better, more self-sufficient humans through their struggles and interaction with each other. But he created characters that were too damaged and insular for that to happen in any believable manner. And instead of getting better, they got more screwed up as things went on.
Well,
So
and
he's
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
The fate of the world is on their shoulders, so of course that would cause damage to someone.
Oh, on demand is the last word he was saying. On demand. Oh, okay. So the Team 4 Star version is available on the on demand version. I gotcha.
going to say, but
Yeah.
back to what I'm saying. It sounds like more like Anno did his job too well, and he wound up getting himself into this situation. Which honestly,
Yeah.
it does seem at times, I would say karmatic, but he didn't get mad at anyone, and he was basically screwed over by Toho when he was making Nadia, Secret of the Blue Water in the early '90s. There were some problems there, and supposedly that's how Ava got its start. Is just a pitch meeting, I think it was like King Records or something. I don't remember how exactly it started, but that's how I think the initial pitch got started.
Hmm.
But King Records, actually, they were one of the people that kind of had the first idea to sponsor it. Their record label, Starchild Records, which did a lot of anime and kaiju soundtracks, they were the ones that released a lot of those popular Ava soundtracks, and those still sell well even to this day, if I recall correctly. So it's one of those things where
Again? Sorry.
where King Records had kind of a financial stake in this because they were kind of interested in Anno as a director and that sort of thing. But honestly, it was just a cluster. Although one other note about Anno, he loved the work of Tomino. I'm not joking either. He had his in a 1991 Animage interview. He had his top 10 anime. Mobile Suit Gundam was number 2. Gundam Charge Counterattack was number 3, and Space Runaway Ideon, widely considered the predecessor to Ava, or at least spiritual predecessor, came in 4th.
Huh.
The first was not directed by Tomino, but had a major influence on anime history. Space Battleship Yamato.
Oh god,
Now that
I have to watch
is a goddamn
Ideon.
classic.
it is.
I need to watch that myself, and I've been wanting to. But unfortunately, I'm the kind of person who likes to watch things in chronological order, not production order. But I've been told there's no real order to watch them in.
Yeah, I'm
So
kind of
I
the
want to
same
get my
way.
research done before I do that. So when I watched Gundam, like all Universal Century shows, I watched them. I started with Mobile Suit Gundam: The Origin, the CG animated shorts from 2003 and 4. And I even watched the 90s OVAs before the 80s Zeta and Double Zeta.
I think production or when they air on TV is probably the best order to watch them in, to be honest, because you're watching it unfold naturally as it happened live on television, and you're probably going to get the best results that way.
I kind of agree with both, just because it kind of depends on the show. For example, when I watch Star Wars, which is one of my huge passions, I will watch it mostly in production order. But there's some things that came out, after the fact, but is in a different chronological order. So it's one of those things that, like, things like Stargate or Star Wars, when you watch them, production order, I would say, is where you should start, unless there's something that just makes more sense as you go watching it through. Speaking of Stargate, I literally somewhere, I can't remember where I have it, but I have somewhere like a full Excel spreadsheet of how to watch all of Stargate. It's
The thing about
great.
Star Wars, the first Star Wars, A
Well,
New Hope, is
yeah.
the only one that I feel works on its own as a film, because
Well, it was supposed
was
to.
made
There
in
wasn't
a
supposed
way.
to be any sequels. They didn't expect any sequels, but
Yeah.
it got so popular.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. The rest of it is a series, and they rely on each other for the narrative.
And they do, and I think it works very, very well as a series. But then you have things like, for example, they did this with Evangelion, just to get back on topic. They had a movie that was basically a recap with a few new scenes.
Yeah, you're either thinking of Death and Rebirth or Ava 1.11.
I think I'm thinking of Death and Rebirth.
I hate it
Yeah.
when companies do that. Let's just release a movie, just pack in like 1 or 2 new scenes, and it's
Well-
all new.
Well, no.
God damn it.
Well, when they say it's
not
all
even a
new,
compilation per se. It's just they just put random scenes at different spots. When
Yeah,
I watched
they-
it for the first time, I had not seen the series. I was like, "What the hell's going on?"
Well, here's the funny thing. This is also a reference to that one of the shows that Anno had listed in his top 10 Space Runaway Ideon. In 1982, they released a 2-part movie compilation for the end of Ideon. What I'm trying to remember which was first. I think Ideon A Contact was first, and then it was B. Be Invoked was the finale. A Contact was the recap film, and it kind of followed a similar thing as Death and Rebirth, or particularly the death part of Death and Rebirth of Ava. And Be Invoked was kind of like the end of Ava for Ideon. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's one of those things where it's probably due to Anno loving Tomiya's work so much.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Also,
Yeah, people do that.
Also, somebody has to bring up his friendship with and relationship with Hayao Miyazaki, Anno's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did they work
Because
on one of the?
Nausicaa, right?
Yeah, one of the key animators on Nausicaa. One of Anno's top 10 favorite series was Future Boy Conan, which was a TV series Miyazaki directed in 1978. And, funnily enough, and two other things. Number one, apparently Miyazaki was one of the story writers. He went uncredited, of course, for Nadia, Secret of the Blue Ocean. And apparently, when Anno had a relapse or had another mental breakdown after the end of Ava 3.3, apparently Miyazaki was the person who helped him.
Really, he had another breakdown.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think so after he made Shin Godzilla.
No, this was before Shin Godzilla. But this was after 3.33 had been made.
So Lady Saber asks, no Poolside Chris today?
No.
I think they missed the sounds of water in the background. The soothing sounds of what initially sounded like urine. Like, I don't know what that first sound was. Like, the first water sound we had last week with Chris. Because I knew he was by the poolside, and I know I explained that. But it was just like, I was really confused, because it was, like, it sounded like urine.
Lady Saber, no we don't.
So, here's something interesting about Evangelion, but I need to confirm it with you guys. When did it first come out in the US?
Around 99, 2000-ish.
Because I remember... Yeah, I remember reading somewhere that it was first aired ever in English on an Australian channel.
Yep.
I don't remember that being the case, or if they did, nobody mentioned anything.
Wait, what is it?
Yeah, no,
Is
that is true. Because
On
I
S.
know I read about
Just
that
tell
like a month
Orphan.
ago.
It was on SBS if you remember, in
wait, was
'99.
it Death and Rebirth or was it End of Evangelion?
No, the series.
Oh, the series? Yeah, the series was. Yeah, I actually remember seeing that for the first time on SBS. Yeah, at that
Yeah,
time.
I think as I was saying, I think it aired in Australia before anywhere else in English.
I think it did.
Yeah, there's a lot
How
of
did that
weird
happen?
stuff that happened with that. I don't remember. Honestly, I don't remember. I remember I read about it a little bit, and then I saw a video about it because there was some weird stuff going on with like the DVDs in Australia, or one particular DVD in Australia, and I know that's what the video was about, but I have no idea why.
Wait, was it about a weird little video that you could see in the DVD
Yeah,
menu?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because I have the original first printing of the DVDs, and yes, can confirm it does actually happen. The video is in there.
Having published DVDs, having designed a DVD burn for media, I can tell you this is I can see how it happened, but someone definitely fucked up with that.
Yeah. For anyone who
Oh
doesn't
boy.
know about it, perhaps you should actually tell them what we're talking about because it's actually a bit of
Yeah,
it's good.
yeah. So I can't remember what the video was, so you can say that when I'm done talking about the DVD. But at one point there was a DVD published of Evangelion in the Australian market, where the DVD in one of the menus you try to play one of, I think it was the special features. You try to play one of the videos, and if you do it in a certain way, there's this video that just kind of pops up, and it's like completely out of place. It has nothing to do with Evangelion. It's just a video from somewhere else entirely, and my brain is saying, you know, pornography, because the swear words I'm fine with, but I know YouTube's sensitive about saying prawn. We're just talking about shrimps. Don't worry about it. Uh, that's what I'm remembering, but it's been a while. Do you know what the video was,
Yeah, it
Orphan?
was. It was an excerpt from something. I'm trying to find it on my tablet right now. That my
It basically,
browser is being a
most
dick.
likely how that happened is the person saved it on their computer, and most likely didn't change the save folder for some of their network downloads, because it'll be in an intranet where it's like closed in with everyone else's, or it could have been over the net, although in those days that's less likely. It was probably an intranet. So someone shared this video to someone else within the company, within the building, essentially. Um, and that would have been at some point, because he didn't change the download location. At some point, that got mixed in with some of the DVD design.
Yeah.
Wow.
So with that said, we're
Yeah, it
we're
happens.
about up on time. So does anyone have
Uh,
any last things they want to say about the topic before we wrap up?
I mean, I have some
Uh,
more interesting stories about Ano, but or the fact or not the fact that he's not only friends with Miyazaki, but he's also friends with a equal with someone who's also a bit of a nutter as well, Kunihiko Ikuhara.
You know what? I feel like you have a lot of stories like that. So here's what we'll do. When I get to the point where I can start making edited videos again, and like my video essays and comedy videos and all that kind of stuff, which should be like soon, like within the next week or so, I hope.
Okay.
What I want to do with you at some point is just we can work on these and figure out if we want to make little edited videos talking about these stories, because I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
it would be.
Yeah. Well, the
Also,
last thing
like,
I want to say is, I know may have caught lightning in a light bulb, but there's one thing
You
he
mean a
was
bottle?
beaten at. No. He did. The creator of Evangelion.
Well, no,
No, I mean
the expression, at least in America, is catch lightning in a bottle.
Despite what he created, He still failed to win Best Male Character of 96 or 95.
Hmm.
Gundam Wing won that with Duo Maxwell. So yeah, Gundam Wing had the best character.
And how well did that series do in Japan?
Oh no!
Honestly,
Oh, that was
so,
savage.
But how well did it do elsewhere?
Oh ho! Oh!
Oh wait,
Come on, highest rate,
I-
top selling Gundam series in America, Gundam Wing, and the world.
Yeah.
I have to say also that Lady Saber actually makes a good point with what she's typed out here. I think Evangelion was the Japanese equivalent of the Shawshank Redemption, but it took a few years for everyone to appreciate it for what it was. Even when watching it, it's easy to wonder what makes the series special, as there was some weird artistic choices, but it was a good proof of concept for lots of tropes that would be later fully fleshed out in later anime. That's very true.
Yeah, that's definitely a really good way to put that. And I think that's a perfect note to end that discussion on, actually. So let me just go ahead and plug the Discord for a second here. My name is Josh in the Shell, as you can tell by the little tip jar at the top. And I am a voice actor and charisma coach, and we are attempting to build a community. While I do think everyone watching the stream currently is already in the community, that's okay. I'm still going to plug it because I am committed. But yeah, so we're trying to build a community on Discord for all sorts of nerds. It started out as something different, which I'm probably going to talk about some other time in full. But what I would say is this is for all nerds to feel like they have a safe place, and it's also a hub for anyone who wants to take advantage of my charisma coaching services. I am very close to setting up a Patreon where you can support both the stream, my channel, as well as you can support me while I do charisma coaching, because those will be some of the perks on Patreon. So let me go ahead and hang on, select all and copy. There we go. Let me go ahead and put this in the comments real quick for the Discord. And yeah, we will definitely be, well, I feel like I'm going to be seeing a lot of y'all soon, seeing as I'll be talking on the Discord for a little bit. But that, I think, was a good stream. So, say goodbye, everyone. It was a lovely talk.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.